In today's episode of Hotlaps, we're going to be taking the brand new F3 2025 car, which is going to be released next season, around our circuit to see where it stacks up against the cars on the leaderboard. Quite a controversial design, looking at the front wing and the rear wing, but maybe that'll help it around our track. But I want to do a quick shout out and a thank you to everyone on screen for subscribing to the Patreon. Link to it is in the description below. You get amazing benefits throughout the week, which range from anything from F1 to a set of course and F1 manager. If you're curious and want to know more, please check out the link below. So, first impressions with this car, I don't think you can really ignore the front wing. The rear wing kind of does get lost behind when you pay attention to how massive and wide this front wing is. There's going to be a fair few of these knocking around the racetrack on any given weekend after damage. The rear wing, on the other hand, is quite different to the F2 one, which is quite surprising. I would have thought they'd have the curvature. They've got it on the bottom part of the rear wing, but engine cover's kind of cool. It looks a little bit stumpy compared to what the F2 cars do. Around the cockpit area, the chassis is actually quite wide, which is quite a nice change. Aside from that, the tyres are quite narrow at the front, very similar to an old GP3 car, so that's quite a nice throwback. The addition of the new steering wheel is pretty cool, and I'm quite interested to see what IRL liveries will look like on this car. An F2 car in 24, an F3 car 25, and an F1 car in 26. It's a bit all over the place, but nonetheless, we are here to test this car out, see what we can do and put it around our circuit. But first of all, it does sound very similar to the F1 car. So, it does look a bit different, but let's take this out on track and see what we can do. The tyres are so skinny. That's the first thing I noticed. I mean, it does look a little bit wide, like from the onboard perspective. Yeah, the fact that it's giving like old GP3 vibes with how skinny the tyres are. A little bit of understeer. Not a massive amount like of power, but we are on hards, so it does understeer a little bit. But kind of like the F2 car, it can get its nose in. I mean, it's been an incredibly long time since I've done this in any capacity. Still only got 6 gears. Oh, into the gravel, yeah. How I've not missed that gravel trap. But under braking, I say, it doesn't actually feel awful. Like, I don't mind it. That's a good start. I mean, I think in majority of every single one of these I've done, I've always complained about the braking and most things. It's clearly just a skill issue. But in this case, I think I'll be pleasantly surprised as you do get a kick on power. So that's good. As usual, everything's set to factory. So anything that is coming out of the car, whether that be lockups, slip on traction, purely down to the base of the car. More often than not with these, there is no TC anyway. Power steering's really in effect. Through these corners, you can really feel the lack of power steering, as opposed to obviously a Formula 1 car, etc. But I mean, it feels slow compared to other things we've driven. It does make sense compared to the F2 car. It feels similar. It genuinely does. So that's good that it feels kind of similar. The place I'd imagine I'm going to be losing on everything is going to be down the straight, which to be expected, right? But through the corners, I don't actually mind it. It's not bad, it's not bad at all. I can't remember off the top of my head what time I did in the F2 car. It would be really funny if this went quicker. It would be so funny if this went quicker. It genuinely would be hilarious. Oh, like, it's quite easy to find the limit of grip in this. I mean, in terms of F3 in general, I can already tell this isn't going to be my favourite F3 car. I think the current gen of F3, I am a big fan of. So this isn't really going to touch it, I don't think. I mean, I think it's easier to drive. Like, it's tricky. Oh, it's a bit overdone. It does feel good. It just feels really easy to drive. Like, cockpit's an interesting one as well. Like, the new type of wheel is kind of cool. Lock the rears up a little bit. Yeah, the new wheel's kind of cool. The little dial in the middle's a bit weird. But in terms of, peripheral and view, it's not too bad. Again, it's a lot more Formula 1 now, which I think is what everyone wants. But there's one thing I can imagine you can see is missing, and that's a delta. I like a delta. I, in fact, love a delta. And there isn't one, so that sucks. But we've got obviously fuel, best lap time, water temperature, just in case you ever need that in an F3 car. Trying to push that a little bit too much. But overall, it does feel pretty fun. I think for me, let's base off the assumption that it's going to be quite a way off the F2 car. I'm curious to know if it's going to get close to the Ferrari hypercar. That's something I'm intrigued about, because if it is, then damn. But the more I drive it, the slower it feels in the straights, right? So that will probably be the one thing that will really hinder it in the interim. But aside from that, I reckon we'll be fine. Like, I don't think this will be too hard to get a car. I don't think it'll be too hard to get a lap around the track in this, just because it feels quite comfortable. You can like push things quite well, and I mean, yeah, the fact I'm feeling comfortable on hard as well. Do you know what I mean? So, but that's enough of that. How about we set up and do a hot lap? So a 1 minute 16.9 more or less. The F3 car does take 5th place on our leaderboard, about a second off of the old GP2 car, and about 2.6 or so from the current F2 car, which I think makes sense. And surprisingly, it did in fact actually beat the Ferrari 499P. So it actually goes to show you, like, around this track specifically, the F3 car and the F2 cars are actually really quite handy compared to the hypercars. Not the slowest car we've had on the leaderboard by any stretch, but definitely not anything that's going to challenge the cars at the top. Let's see what we can do in the next episode with the next car. If you enjoy, please make sure to slap a like, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.